Hey, welcome back to the BVB podcast. My name's Jacob. Going back to Jacob this time, joined as always by Carver. And I'm switching to Jacob from Jake because we got a special guest, also known as Jake, also known as 50 Plus Donor. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us again.
What a nice guy, moving over your name just to me. Wow. Such service.
I know the rules. I know the hierarchy and where we stand. Real quick though, for any new listeners or people who maybe didn't hear the last episode you joined us, just go ahead and start the episode with a quick plug with everything you do, and just what do you do?
Oh, I don't do anything anymore, allegedly, but I do the 50 Plus Donor. I do drop some things every now and then on Twitter, but I mean, for the most part, the show's in hiatus just because a lot of things, but still watching the league, obviously, and probably unfortunately as well, but excited to be on here and talking with you guys.
Let's be honest. If there's anything that's going to ring true, it's that any listener knows Jake more than us, and his show has done a lot for the Bundesliga community, whether it's men or women. So happy to have you here either way. I don't know, this is not, I wanted to say three-peat actually, but I think this is only your second time. But either way, appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah. Also, I do need to clarify, this is not a Schalke hoodie. It's not a Schalke hoodie. It's a barn spot that I got for like $15 on World Soccer Shop. So
appreciate you pointing that out. Because you are a neutral, right? You're a neutral, and you're not just coming on here to stir up any.
Of course.
No, we're really excited to have you back and get into this episode. I just noticed that you put your name as Jake P. Or is that because are you trying to differentiate? So can I change my name back to Jake? We'll just do Jake and Jake P.
It asked me for my name and I panicked, so I just typed in something. So.
All right, well, we'll get into it. Of course, we're recapping. It feels a little weird because we didn't have two matches this week. But just coming off the obviously 1-1 draw with Leverkusen. Going to this match, I know there was some. It's like maybe this is where we can get Leverkusen. Maybe this is where they drop off. Maybe they're still a little hungover. Although I didn't really see them slowing down. Just thought maybe this was the opportunity to do it, and of course that didn't happen. Sadly for us, and I don't know. I was gonna say maybe not the worst result. Although I do think Dortmund overall kind of needs the points anyways. We'll talk Champions League and all the spots and everything for that maybe a little bit later. But Carver, how are you feeling going into this match? I'll start with you, and then we'll get Jake's take, the neutral's take.
I thought I didn't know I didn't think we were going to actually get a win, even though we were very close for the second time. This is a gut punch whenever Dortmund were once again very close to ending Leverkusen's unbeaten streak. And that equalizer that they ended up getting in the 95th or 6th minute, I can't remember, that puts them second in Europe's top 5 leagues for goals scored in added time, 15 goals. And with only Liverpool in front of them scoring more, which is 17. So there's been a reoccurring theme this season of Leverkusen either getting a win or a draw in the dying seconds of each game. And we are unfortunately the next victim in that schedule. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. I mean, besides Stuttgart next week, Leverkusen have a relatively smooth ride for the rest of the season. So I was really hoping out of anyone in the league, we were going to be able to be the team to rip some points off of them and get that win. But unfortunately, that just wasn't the case.
Jake, your thoughts going into this match? Did you think Dortmund had a chance to pull the upset?
I thought so. I mean, the way you guys played in Champions League, I was like, oh, this is kind of nice. You guys could probably do it. But Leverkusen they have this team of destiny thing that's going on this year. And I mean, getting a point even from them is very nice. Like, not many team can be able to say they got a point from them. So, I mean, what can you really say about Leverkusen at this point, man? Like, they haven't lost all season. They don't look like they're going to, like you guys said, like Stuttgart's their next best chance unless they drop a random game, just resting people for all the things that they have coming up. But, I mean, there's really not much more to say about this team. Like, they're having one of the best seasons I think anyone had ever seen. they have earned every draw that they've had. They've earned every win. Like, it's just incredible what Alonso has done for this club and this team. And it's so funny to think that Giro Sione had this basically the same team in like 17th place, or not 17th, like 13th or whatever to start off last year. So incredible stuff to them. And I think at this point, you guys should be focused on next week, like, or this upcoming week. There's a huge game this upcoming week.
Yeah, there were only 5 draws that Leverkusen have got this season, and the last one before us was in January against Gladbach. And before that, it was Stuttgart, and then just before that, it was us. So, I mean, they've been on a winning streak for a very long time now in the league. So, yeah, just again, going to be always very tough to get a win or even a draw against a team of that kind of quality and just the form that they're in. But, yeah.
And I could be wrong on this, but I think, are we the only team? Dortmund, I say we. Sorry, Jake. We, the Dortmund fans over here, not the neutrals. Is Dortmund the only team that Leverkusen hasn't beat? Maybe it's just Bundesliga play, but I think they've beat everyone else. Maybe even if they drew, they got a win over them also. I think we might be the only club. I mean, not that I want to like hang my hat on that, even though they are having an incredible year, and not that I'm just here just trying to praise Leverkusen either. But I mean, and I think I would be more happy about that if this single point meant a little more in the like getting into the top 4. The fact that we really needed 3 points, I know it's a draw against Leverkusen, and yay, they're great, and we drew against them twice. But over like the overall we're at in the table, even if there's a 5th Champions League spot, I'm still just like, dang it, we need the result. We needed those 3 points, and I think that's what's like the most upsetting to me overall. Like there's positive aspects to this, but then there's also the super negative ones where it's like we need 3 points. We also gave it up in the very, very last minutes, which is super disheartening. And I'm not just trying to be a super negative Dortmund fan, but just a realistic. Like I don't want to be too happy about drawing the best team in Europe, even though they are the best team in Europe.
Yeah, it seemed like Leverkusen always had another gear to shift into for the majority of this game, definitely in the first half. And you look at their starting lineup, and they had 3 midfielders in the attacking front line. There's no Wirtz, there's no Boniface. Frimpong, it looked like for the most part of this game, was almost acting as a winger. I know he can be a wing back, but he was much higher up the pitch consistently throughout the rest of that match. But I mean, yeah, Leverkusen had control a good amount of the possession and flow of the game that first half, and we did claw a lot of that back possession-wise and just the flow of the game into the second. But like I said, Leverkusen just had that other gear to shift into towards the end of the game, bringing on the firepower that they had. And with just whether it's injuries or also now suspensions to Dortmund, both teams really, but Dortmund just looked pretty tired and just didn't have the subs ready to go that could make the difference like Leverkusen did.
And then looking at our lineup, obviously in comparison, like you see them not starting like the big guns really, which almost makes it even worse. It's like they took their foot off the gas starting wise, like with some of those players. And then we churning out the same guys who've been playing back to back because we're just not as deep. But we have kind of similar backline: Rierson, Hummel, Schlotterbeck, and Maatsen, Kobel in goal again. Chan, Sabitzer, and Brandt in the midfield with Sancho, Pano Gittins out wide, and then Füllkrug up top. And I feel like we had the chances. We obviously get the goal late in the game. If I'm just going to skip that far ahead already, and maybe I won't. But your take, Jake, I'll go to you again, and just your take on how this match was playing out, because obviously got your thoughts before the match and in the chances and hopes before. But like seeing this match play out, even leading up to the goal, first half, like your takes on our lineup versus theirs and how the match was going for Dortmund.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously rested 3 really good players, right? But they still, I mean, like you said earlier, like Leverkusen is very deep, so there's not really we're going to catch them off guard kind of thing, right? Like that's kind of what's been powering through this season. And when you guys got the late goal, I was like, okay, they're surviving the onslaught, right? Like with Leverkusen, you're always going to get a billion shots on goal and stuff like that. Like they're going to wear your defense down. I was like, maybe this time they're going to do it. And then when they added 7 minutes of stoppage, I was like, the boss music started playing. They're just they're just in a great adjustment team, and that's what's so annoying about them is no matter what lineup you put out there, Alonso is going to find some hole and he's going to exploit that with substitutes. And it happened again, and it'll probably happen again this week, and it'll probably happen again in Europa League final, and it'll probably happen again in the Pokal. Like it's hard. I see what you're saying about like, and I see what a lot of Dortmund fans might say of like, man, we really dropped 2 points here, but this is just the same way you got to look at Bayern in years past. It's just like there's not a whole lot you can really do, right? It just happens.
I think there's some acceptance of that too. Like we understand, like we don't have the depth. I know there was people talking on Twitter. Carver, I think maybe you posted it on our Twitter too. The comparison to bring on Wirtz versus we're bringing on, Duranville, the 16-year-old who maybe he's 17 now, but I don't know if he's played a single minute for the first team this year yet because he's been injured. He might have gotten some minutes with the second team or the under 21s or whatever. But to see that, like that dynamic of they're bringing on Wirtz, who is obviously being rested, and then our go-to is Duranville, who's barely played, was just super deflating a little bit. And then we obviously had to make the change at halftime, bringing Wolf on for Maatsen, which was, I understand Maatsen had a yellow card, and I think a couple other, did Hummels and Schlotterbeck, like a couple other people had yellow cards too. So you're trying to save that situation or secure up that situation a little bit, but to bring on Wolf, just not that encouraging either, especially in the fullback position where Maatsen has been super strong. Rierson's obviously been strong too, so we like that lineup, but to bring Wolf on like so quickly and to make that change and then Duranville later. Carver, do you want to speak a little bit to like the Duranville thing?
Yeah, Duranville has played, before this game, he's played a total of 3 minutes this entire season. It was against Hoffenheim in February. It's no disrespect to Duranville. Jake and you and I both are very excited for him and hope he can continue to grow into this team and be the exciting prospect that he is. But just another questionable substitution by Terzic. I think Sula would have been a good option in the last quarter hour of this game. I mean, Duranville came on in the 83rd minute. I think we could have even made substitutions before that too and just really tried to secure that win given the goal was in the 81st. So, I mean, it was still around that time that Duranville came on. But, yeah, even then, it could have been sooner, in my opinion. But, yeah, Wolf came on at halftime, like you mentioned, for Maatsen. Both Maatsen and Shan have a yellow card accumulation and will be suspended against Leipzig, for those that who don't know, which is pretty terrifying given we already have no reliable number 6 in this team. Shan is clearly not it, at least as a starter. And now that we have Maatsen out as well, which is arguably our best fullback, and it's close with Rierson, but still now you have, and of course Benzabaini is out as well, so you have Rierson and Wolf as our starting fullbacks, very likely going into next week, unless we were to tweak the system and do like a back 3 or something like that. But either way, yeah, I mean, the depth problems are there, and you're seeing a lot of the recurring issues too. I will say I don't think Wolf had a terrible game for someone that's kind of just thrown into the mix in such a big moment and going on there as a left back as well. Or I think Rierson, they probably were interchanging at times as well. But either way, he did get himself into some pretty good positions. And yeah, it's not like it's convincing me for him to get an extension for anything like that. But either way, it's a bit underwhelming whenever you have, looking at the choices for substitutions. Although I will say I did like the addition of Royce, just bringing on some energy into the front line, of course, his pressing IQ. But the biggest thing for me is just Sula should have got more minutes, right? I mean, he clearly has been, pretty underwhelming, but also he's been very disappointed with the opportunities or just lack thereof that he's been getting since arriving at Dortmund. Whenever he did initially sign, he was telling Dortmund media that he was, excited because the projects are being built with him in mind for the back line. Of course, Hummels has been playing out of his mind, but still, Sula has not been getting much of any minutes. And yeah, you could accredit some of that being just like his poor form at times, but this is a moment where I think he should absolutely be seeing the field more to secure such a huge victory and two extra points to keep us in 4th place. But now we have to leapfrog Leipzig this weekend.
Well, especially in the situation of the game, right? Like